Melbourne, questions are piling up, so let's do a Wednesday mailbag as we always do, from day 3 at the 2019 Aussie Open. John, did you notice how most of the top this-gen American men have fallen? Isner, Querrey, Johnson, Sock before many of the next-gen cohort Tiafoe, Fritz, McDonald, Opelka, at the Ow. Strangely, this makes me feel better, rather than worse, about the state of American men's tennis. Also, the future of American women also looks brighter lately. See, Kenin, Anisimova, and Oswego, Bob. Brooklyn eyed caution against reading too much into one event. But, yes, the old guard disappointed, especially Jack Sock. Meanwhile, Francis Tiafoe beat Kevin Anderson, perhaps the tournament's biggest upset so far, and Taylor Fritz scored a courageous win over Gael Monfils. And even in defeat, Mackenzie McDonald, Christopher Eubanks, Dennis Kudla, the younger set acquitted themselves well. John, you have to credit Simona Halep for getting over dips in her play relatively quickly throughout her career in 2017, most notably around Madrid, Paris, but this is becoming a trend. Granted, perhaps she was injured and thus couldn't train properly in the off-season, but I can envisage her losing early in Melbourne. She already lost to Barty in Sydney, and then trying to restart the fire on clay. How can she recapture the level from last year's French Open if she hasn't played at that level for about a year? Damian Simona Halep arrived here without a coach, without much prep work and without much momentum. Last night, she lost the first set to Kaya Kanepi and was a few games from her second straight first-round defeat at a slam, to the same player. And she was in danger of continuing her winless streak that dated to last summer. She steadied and closed out a win in 3 sets. And I would argue that 45-minute window might prove to be the turning point in her year, and possibly her career. John, what do you think of the Australian Open switch to a final set, 10-point tiebreak? Steve G. Atlanta, I'm all for it. We've seen too many instances of win by 2, exhausting players and making for uncompetitive next rounds. A tiebreak at 6-6 in the decisive set is abrupt. But a 1-10 tiebreaker makes sense. B. I don't mind that the 4 slams currently all have their own distinct way of ending final sets. They have 4 different surfaces and are played in 4 different countries. We can handle the differentiation. What will the ATP Top 5 look like in 5 years? Carlos, Berlin 1, Djokovic 2, Nadal 3, Federer 4, Zverev 5, Khachanov. Only half kidding. I do, however, suspect Djokovic will still be playing. If Federer and Nadal are not playing, I'd say Tsitsipas and maybe Shapovalov. Bernard Tomic, Thanasi Kokkinakis and Nick Kyrgios were all eliminated in the first round at Melbourne. Alexei Popyrin, Alex Bolt, and Jordan Thompson all made it through to the second. Hewitt smiling. Yves Montreal smiling. He's fist-pumping and howling. Come on, Bernie Tomic is the loosest of cannons and might have the least moral authority of anyone outside of the top 100. To ask him a provocative question after he loses at a slam makes for just add water provocation. But here's the thing, his points, about Hewitt's conflict of interest, about Hewitt's almost pathological aversion to walking away from competition, about Hewitt's alienating players, have been raised by others. This is the opposite of damning with faint praise. It's praising with faint damnation. If Bernard Tomic is the voice of dissent, maybe you're not so bad after all. But here, Hewitt has some serious issues in laundering. Just because it was Tomic who raised them doesn't negate the underlying points. I saw you asked Martina Navratilova whether teenagers will ever win majors again. She said no and I agree. Where do you stand? Carl T., St. Petersburg, Florida. Here's the clip, and check back periodically as Martina and I do several of these a day. Ironically, on the day we discussed this, Amanda Anisimova, age 17, she crushed no. 24 seed Lesia Tsurenko 6-0, 6-2, for a variety of reasons. It's going to be tough. Tennis has, altogether now, gotten more physical. The age eligibility rules restrict opportunities for young players. Strictly as a probability exercise, there are so few kids, the odds go down. But note, Anisimova doesn't turn 20 until the 2021 US Open. John, now that Andy Murray is being forced to retire, not on his own terms, does this mean we can stop asking the Williams sisters, Fed, and others when they'll retire, which will hopefully be on their terms? Dwayne Wright. 2 cardinal rules of sports media and fandom. 1. Don't question an athlete's injury. Don't question when or whether they ought to retire. Never mind, as fans, as human beings, we should hope everyone continues to do what they love for as long as they please. And, to Dwayne's point, we should hope they make the decision and their profession doesn't make it for them. We're time, in Andy Murray, tennis to lose one of its grand sportsmen. A couple questions. 1. Will they ever get rid of the let-on serve? It seems to serve no purpose except to slow the game. 2. Who came up with that awful low side net camera that gives little perspective? Ditch it. 3. Guess as to how far ball kids run per match? How about a festive for them? At KSR Tennis Fan this is picking up momentum. We have let's during the point. Why not play them on serves? It works fine in college. It would speed up matches and add an element of unpredictability. Sometimes the ball will trickle over for cheap aces, other times 130 miles per hour bombs will tick the tape and sit up for easy returns. Is there such a thing as first week confidence? Keys has that, but she's yet to sustain it during the all-important second weeks. I'm not sure she can. At Alpine Hills Tennis, one of you wondered whether we, the U.S. media, Tennis Channel, the Guatemalan Contra Rebels, conflate personal fondness for Keys with fondness for her tennis. I would answer, no, she's thoroughly likable. But the optimism stems from just how big a ball she hits. I still like Keys long-term. She hits too big a ball not to eventually win a major. I'm not sure it's coming here, though. She played no tune-ups. She has a new coach. She's still coming off a deflating fall. And, yes, there's totally such a thing as first-week confidence. But Keys won 16 matches at majors last year and reached 2 semis. It's not like she chokes at slams. If anything, it's her week-in, week-out consistency that needs improving. Maybe there is a rough parallel between wealthy team owners in other sports and the owners of slams and masters, premier events. In the most recent corruption scandal at tennis lower levels, it seems like it is time for someone with clout, players, WTA and ATP combined, slams, to set a bar for hosting. Grand Slam, WTA, ATP level event that requires contributing to a prize money pool for lower events, to support players at a tier or 2 down, sort of an international farm team approach. On Campbell, Portland, Oregon. Or else, it's time for the ITF to be taken to task for their Sport Radar deal. From the ITF report, the Independent Review of Integrity in Tennis, 17. In 2011, the TIU's task was made more difficult by the ITF entering into a live scoring data sale agreement with Sport Radar. A further agreement was entered into in 2015. Whilst these deals have generated considerable funds for the sport, they have also greatly expanded the available markets for betting on the lowest levels of professional tennis. The panel considers that insufficient diligence was undertaken by the ITF fully to assess the potential ramifications of entering into these agreements, which increased by tens of thousands the matches that could be bet upon at the lowest level of the sport, before entering into them. More next week.